cry from Sacramento. It's gold, it's gold, it's gold.
You're listening to Local Gold. Join us as we mine the ore of Sacramento's rich musical heritage, some of which has been unjustly buried by the deposits of time. And now your host, Patrick Skiffington.
Hello, Sacramento! I am Patrick Skiffington. This is Local Gold, and today we have for you a very special treat. A legend, a jewel, a frigging diamond from the Sacramento area who is not only still with us, but still recording, and yes, still playing out. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Jerry McClendon.
Things I read in my daddy's scrapbook, I've been laying around. Daddy made the fastest boat out in Rhode Island town. They had a nickname for my pappy, the best that they ever had. Called him the rum runner, that's what they call my dad. He was a rum runner. He was a rum runner. Yes, he was. In one of them old news clippings, said what a tough time the law had. Their boats were too slow and they couldn't go out to catch my old dad. He was a rum runner. He was a rum runner. Yes, he was. Dates were a little bit faded, but it tells about my old dad. All the narrow escapes he had with the law, and what a tough time they had. He was a rum runner. He was a rum runner. He was a rum runner. Yes, he was.
Okay, so that was Rum Runner from Jerry McClendon. Right about now, you're thinking to yourself, wow, how have I never heard this before? This is why we bring you Local Gold. We were fortunate to get an interview with Mr. McClendon, so I'm going to let the man speak for himself here. So, Mr. McClendon, first of all, thanks for having us today. We're really excited to meet you and talk to you a little bit about your career. Can you first tell us, where were you born? Where'd you come from?
Pendleton, Indiana is where on a farm.
On a farm?
And my family's from Kentucky, and I was born in Indiana. I had a musical family too, and so I always wanted to listen to all the bluegrass music and everything. A lot of people, my uncles played in clubs, nightclubs, and or clubs on weekends, honky tonks they call them back there, and then Kentucky. So that's what was pretty exciting about that. My family was musically inclined too. My sister played several instruments. My mom played, and I have a couple brothers that played.
So when did you decide that you wanted to start playing music?
I didn't feel that I was going to be playing professionally until probably about just a couple months before I was 21 years old. I was across the street at this here little hamburger stand, and I seen this little bar over on here in North Sacramento called Shanny's, Little Shanny's, and I heard this music coming out of there. Now I have been playing, the teenager. I had a guitar, and my father bought me one when I was 14. And
Let's back up just a little bit. What brought you to Sacramento?
Well, we were living in Indiana, and I guess my mom's sister had moved out here, and my oldest brother had moved out here, and Dad wanted to come out here, and so we packed up a car, and it was 9 of us total in a little 56 station wagon, Ford station wagon, and came out here in 1957.
Fantastic. So, so then you started. You decided that you wanted to play by going to the club at Shawnee's. You said.
Well, like when I was like almost 21 years old, I heard these guys playing, and I stood out front of the club because I wasn't quite old enough to go in. And I asked this guy, I says, the guys wasn't all that great in there. It was a Sunday jam session, and I said, "Does them guys get paid for that?" He said, "Yeah, they do." I said, "No, you wouldn't know how much." He said, "I don't know, $5 or $10 a night a piece." I said, "You know what? I think I might just want to start that." So I did have bought an electric guitar and started practicing with the Beatles, Adventures, Merle Haggard. No, was it Merle? Yeah, and George Jones, and some of the country stuff, and a lot of it mostly country. And practiced for 4 or 5 months, and then I went to work.
So, how did you get your first gig? You said you were around 21, 22.
21 years old was June of 1965. I'd been 21 for 2 weeks or 2 months, and there was a little club out in Rio Linda. It was a little beer bar, and we went to work out. I had my brother. I take that back. I had my friend. He was he probably sang 5 songs and played a little rhythm, and then the bass player actually used an electric guitar, acoustic electric guitar, and played the 4 top strings as bass, and then I played lead, what I knew, and sang, and I only knew about 15 songs or 20, and that's when we started. We made percentage of the bar, about $3 a night a piece.
So what did y'all call yourselves back then? Do you remember the name of that group?
Well, yep, the 3 J's, but one of them was an R. Jerry, Joe, and Roger. But we named them the 3 J's.
That's awesome. So can you tell us a little bit more about some of the early bands that you played with, and where any of those groups maybe played around town? We have a couple band names to jog your memory here: Bobby Duke and the Dynamics, the SKDs, the John Miller Band, Johnny Grizzle, and the Fabulous Hang-Ups, the Gettysburg Express, which is a fantastic name for a band, by the way, and the Country Road Band, and then also the Country Band. So tell us a little about playing with those early bands and some of the venues that you played here around Sacramento.
Well, I guess the first band I had that I call, besides the 3 J's, right after a few months, a guy I ran into at a jam session said he was leaving the new Colonial Club over North Sacramento, and if I wanted to be the band leader, he could come in. There's a drummer already there, and there's a guitar or a bass player there. I said, "I take it. It's $15 a night," and that was 1965. And I was there for about a year or two, and my group was called the Zygons. Crazy name. Some girl gave it to me, and I didn't know what it meant.
How do you spell that?
I think it was, let me see, ZAKONS or CA. I'm not sure.
You just went with. She must have been a pretty girl.
Yeah, she was. And then I played there a long time. And I met Johnny Martin, and then we played with him. That was the SKDs. And I just practiced all the time, and I'd fall asleep on my guitar on my chest, and I would play and wake up in the middle of the night, and I dreamed of it in my sleep. And I remember listening to the radio show from the Detour Inn, Okie Paul Westmoreland's show, that I said, someday I'm going to play on that stage. But anyway, I practiced that, wake up and play, and I practice all the time, and I learned really fast, and I wanted to play everything, so I worked with SKTs, the skids, I guess what you call them. I don't know, that's what he was calling them, and and after, well, Bobby Duke and the Dynamics was the ones I worked before that, though. And that was a trio.
Well, what's some of the names of the clubs that were around here back then that you guys would play at?
I played the Outposts, 40 Grand, First Relay, the Howdy Club in South Area, the Metropolitan in South Area, the Cowtown in Orangeville, the Black Stallion in Orangeville.
So were most of the country western clubs in outlying areas like Orangeville, Roseville, that kind of area, or was there more closer to the central city? Or
Yeah, there was so many country clubs. Just a few rock places, South Bowl and a couple other places. But most of them was country, and there was a country bar on every corner. I mean, there was hundreds of them, and everybody could work. And
so you talked a little bit about the Detour Inn and Okie Paul and Old Louise. Did you end up finally playing there for them at the Detour Inn?
I did. I finally got a job there playing lead guitar for the band, and they hired separate musicians. They did hired bands. They had their own band. It was Okie and Ola Louise's band, and she just hired the musicians. They wanted a drummer and a steel player. We had all these guys were older pros. Local Cotton Roberts, is Kenny Yates on steel. The drummer was Bob. That's slipping my mind right now. And then what we do, we sing. And I fronted the group. I was 22 years old. Put me up front to front, and they walk out on that great big stage and the lights and everything. And very exciting. I didn't want to get out there, and she shoved me out. Ola says, "You go out there and do it." And I said, "Okay." But then we bring Ola up for the last 15 minutes of the set. And Okie Paul, of course, had this famous song, Detour. And he had told me one time he was working at a sawmill, and he had one nice white piece of board there, when they just cut it, and he wrote a song right there on that log.
Oh, that's a great story. You talked about old Louise pushing you out on stage. She kind of had a reputation for being quite the tough gal. Do you have any? She had a reputation for being a pretty tough gal.
Oh yeah, she could be really tough. Yeah, and I've seen her punch out another musician. He was a drummer, and she was a scrapper too. Yeah, oh yeah, she was a nice lady too. Though she was a sweetheart and do anything for you.
Can you tell the folks at home where the Detour Inn used to be located in Sacramento?
Bell Avenue. It was Bell Avenue and Raleigh Boulevard. And at the beginning, first of it was called, oh my goodness, I can't remember what the first name of it was. It was a tent. And then he built a small club and named it the Detour Inn. So I think it was always a Detour exactly, but.
So how did you come to make your first recordings, specifically for Love Records here in Sacramento?
Well, in 1967, I joined the Teamster Union, the Musicians Union in Sacramento, and they called me and said that there was a group at the South Pole, and they played the old rock and roll. Could I play old rock and roll music? And I said, yeah, I could play that too. So they need a lead player. So I went out to the South Pole, and it was an audition, and there was five or six guitar players in the audience waiting to get up to play, and then my turn came, and they got me up to play, and then they asked me to sing, and I sang a couple songs. Some I remember the song "Sometimes I Cry When I'm Lonely" by Paul Revere and the Raiders. So about halfway through my rehearsal, with the band, the other guitar players got up and left. They walked out, and I don't know why they walked out, but I think they knew that I probably got the job. I did.
Fantastic. So, what about the...
Well, the guys in the band was Joe and Rick Weil, and I was taking Rick. He's a fabulous guitar player, and Joe was a bass player. They were the owner of the Love Records later, a few years later, 1969, 1970, and I recorded my first record, 1970, Take Her Flowers, written by Will Miller and Jimmy Snyder, and I did the other side. I did Sometimes by Paul
Fantastic.
Rivers.
We actually have that record, and we're going to play it for everybody right now.
Sometimes I cry when I'm lonely. Sometimes I cry when I'm blue. Right now I'm crying 'cause I love you. And I'm crying 'cause you don't love me too. Come on and tell me that you love me. Won't you please answer yes or no? Tell me I'm your one and only, or I can't even stay away. Tell me, my darling, that you love me. Tell me if you feel the same. Come on and tell me, my darling, that you love me. So the tears I cry out not shed in vain. Darling, that you love me. Tell me if you feel the same. Come on and tell me, my darling, that you love me. So the tears I've shed I've not shed in vain. So the tears I've shed I've not shed in vain.
And now the flip from that very same record on Love Records, Take Her Flowers.
I sat and I stared through the bottle as I drank my anger away. We fought in front of the children, and I left when she begged me to stay. Then a man came in selling flowers, flowers for your loved one today. I laughed and poked fun as I paid him, but he smiled and he answered this way. A violet for the kisses she gives you, and a rose market for the vows that you promised. Take her flowers to wear in her hair. I hadn't seen a king he wants you sing to feel his way across the street. Then tears fill my eyes as I realize he was blind but could see more than me. I stumbled and I ran from the ballroom. I was wrong, what a fool, now I see. When I fell in her arms, I was crying. Oh, I love you, here's some flowers from me. I'll fall for the kisses you give me, and the rose for the love that we share. I'll market for the vows that we promised. Here's some flowers to wear in your hair. Oh, I love you, here's some flowers to wear.
Crazy.
How did you become involved with Raven Records?
I was working at the Metropolitan Club in 68, somewhere in there. You know, back in them days, you could work 5 clubs in 1 year, so you get mixed up. But I worked there we were there 6 months, I think. And Bill and Ruth just moved from Nashville here, the record producer, and for some reason, and they were in the audience. And I got, on a break, he says, "Can I talk to you?" And I walked over there, and I'm 22 years old. He says, "I have a record company, and I like the way you perform. Would you be interested in recording? And I can send you down to Bakersfield, Buck Owen Studio to record." I said, "Okay." So I think I cut 4 sides down there, I think. Yeah, I think I did 4 sides, and I think Crack Radio played it a couple times, and no, wait a minute. I recorded down there, and yes, take that back. I recorded 4 songs down there. I played it for Okie Paul and Old Louise, and they called the program general manager at Crack Radio and says, "I got a young man, Jerry, here. I wanted you to listen to his record. We think it's great. Maybe you could give it a spin." It stayed on the charts for 2 months or 3 months.
So by Bill and Ruth, you're of course referring to Bill and Ruth Moore, the owners of Raven Records.
Yeah, Bill and Ruth. Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about your recording session at the Buck Owen Studios?
Well, I had local musicians, quite a few, there's probably about 5 or 6 of them. And Buck Owens came in that day, and he was in the studio. I seen him back there, and then in between songs when they were kind of changing around stuff, I walked back there, and I said hi, and he said, "Hey, how you doing?" He said, "The song I did, the first song I did was 'Daddy, Don't You Walk So Fast.'" And he said, "Well, that's going to be a hit song," or "That's it." No, he said, "That's a hit song." But Wayne Newton had that song out before in the Popville, wasn't on the country chart, so I didn't know how to take that until I thought about it later. I said, I think he was just ribbing me.
So You also recorded at Bradley's Barn in Nashville.
Yeah, Bradley's Barn. His son Harold Bradley ran the session. I had 8 sides cut there, and we had I had Loretta Lynn's steel guitar player, Hal Rugg, and I had Grady Martin, great guitar player, and these are all recording A-team. They call them the A-team. And Grady was on piano. Buddy Spiker was on fiddle, which he played with. He recorded a lot of songs. And I had Pig Robbins on piano. And the drummer, oh gosh, I forgot him. He was Elvis. He played on four or five of Elvis's records. Flaming Star, I think, and quite a few more. I just can't. Buddy Harmon. Buddy Harmon.
So we just heard the man himself talk about recording at Buck Owens Studios, and we happen to have all of those sides for you folks today. We're going to play them right now.
The love between the two of us was dying. It got so bad I knew I had to leave. Halfway down that highway, I turned around and saw my little daughter running after me. Now I didn't know how to tell my little daughter that her daddy had to run to catch a train. She had no way of knowing I was leaving town for good. I turned around and there she was again, crying, "Daddy, don't you walk so fast. Daddy, don't you walk so fast. Daddy, slow down some, 'cause you're making me run. Daddy, don't you walk so fast." Now for the sake of my sweet daughter, I turned around, went home right there and then. Try to start a new life for the mother of my child. I just couldn't bear to hear those words again. She said, "Daddy, don't you walk so fast. Daddy, don't you walk so fast. Daddy, slow down some, 'cause you're making me run. Daddy, don't you walk so Walking down the streets in Indianapolis, sometimes a man sure feels helpless, and I wish I was in California. Chicago wind blows my mind in circles, never seem to find any work there, and I wish I was in California. Sun shines brighter and living's fine. Even when you don't work, you have a good time. Loving's easy, so here's my plan. I'm going back there when I can. Midwest is fine, but that's not where you'll find me, hiding in the shade of a big old pine tree. And I wish I was in California. Sun shines brighter and living's fine. Even when you don't work, you have a good time. Loving's easy, here's my plan. I'm going back there when I can. Midwest is fine, but that's not where you'll find me, hiding in the shade of a big old pine tree. And I wish I was in, and I wish I was in California.
So we just heard I Wish I Was in California. What about that piano part, huh? That ending, though, holy smokes. Before that was Daddy Don't You Walk So Fast. And let me just talk about the vocal gymnastics by Jerry McClendon on that song. Amazing. You should still be asking yourself at this point why Jerry McClendon was not internationally famous, or at the very least, in the Country Hall of Fame by now.
When no one else can understand me, when everything I do is wrong, you give me hope and consolation. You give me strength to carry on, and you're always there to lend a hand in everything I do. That's the wonder of you. And when you smile, the world is brighter. You touch my hand, I'm a king. Your kiss to me is worth a fortune. Your love for me is everything. I guess I'll never know the reason why you love me like you do. That's the wonder of you. Sorry, it's over. It wasn't planned that way. Walk in sunshine, be happy each day. Forget me and the plans that we made. Walk in sunshine while I walk in the shade. Walk in sunshine, be happy each day. Walk in sunshine, that's all that I can say. But if you should ever find your sun going down, remember I still love you and I'll be around. happy each day. Walk in sunshine, that's all that I can say. But if you should ever find your son going down, remember I still love you and I'll be around. Remember I still love you and I'll be around.
So that was Jerry McClendon way down in Bakersfield at the Buck Owens joint. Was not that fantastic, ladies and gentlemen? Amazing. Wasn't that worth going down to Bakersfield for? I reckon it was. Let's hear more from the man himself. We're going to talk about, you recorded Let's Go Back to the Country for Raven in Nashville.
Right.
That song was played all over the world, obviously nationally, but internationally as well. It made the top 20 list on KRAK. It was being played on stations all over the world, like I said. But it looks like it was banned from airplay in some countries.
Yes, the one that I'm thinking was sure that we had a newspaper clip on, of course, was one of mine books here somewhere. I don't know where, that it was clipping that the record company over there, they farmed it out to a record company over there that wanted to record it. And they contacted Raven Records. And of course, they did a contract on it and sent them a master of it and everything. And they started playing it in New Zealand. And I'm not sure how many months they played it. It could have been 4 or 5 months until they banned it because some of the words, maybe 3 months. They banned it because of some of the words that's over there. Because New Zealand was a little bit back, a little bit back than the United States. And a lot of the countries were they're a little more old-fashioned, and of course you've heard the records, so
We have.
you know what it sounds like. But it got some play here, and a lot of good stuff on here. But it was, and I think Australia played it, and a lot of the companies over the country did. But New Zealand, as far as I know, is the only one that banned it on the radios.
How do you feel about having made a record that's been banned somewhere?
Well, if it was here, it'd be different. Like Elvis rock and roll was banned. They broke all the records and stuff. So I didn't feel bad about it. I just, well, they're a little behind over there, so I can understand. But I don't know. I bet you half the people over there liked it.
So that was the man himself telling us all about his banned record from New Zealand. We happen to have that very record for you all. We're going to play it now. And let me know if you can figure out why this was banned.
Charlie Brown is trying to cheat the Internal Revenue. Lucy Jones is gonna have a kid by a man she hardly knew. All the kids down at the school are taking LSD. Last night someone stole my car from me. Let's go back to the country and the country way of life, where you speak to your neighbor but you don't take his wife. Let's go back to the country and stop killing off the land. Let's go back to the country and love our fellow man. It's getting where you can't tell the boys from the girls. The boys are wearing sissy things and wearing long blonde curls. The only manly thing that's left is a beard upon the chin, and I wouldn't mind if they washed it now and then. All the beef you eat today is shot with DES. Is it any wonder all the kids are feminists? Now those female hormones, it's got to change the genes. It's enough to make you eat nothing but beans. Let's go back to the country and the country way of life, where you speak to your neighbor but you don't take his wife. Let's go back to the country and stop killing off the land. Let's go back to the country and love our fellow man. There was a time when you could see blue skies up above, but now it's filled with aeroplanes and smog, ain't that enough? Cars in the smog and the planes, this old world ain't worth a nickel. I think I'll go out and buy me a brand new bicycle. Let's go back to the country and the country way of life, where you listen to the Grand Ole Opry on a Saturday night. Let's go back to the country, use a battery radio, listen to Jimmy Rogers records, going yodeling.
And if that wasn't enough, let's hear a few more sides from that fateful recording day at Bradley's Barn in Nashville, Tennessee, from our good friend, Jerry McClendon.
There's a right way, there's a wrong way, there's a short way, there's a long way, and all you'll have to do is get on your knees and pray, and the Lord will help you find a way. Anytime you're troubled and need a helping hand, turn your eyes to Jesus and follow his great plan. Ask him to forgive you for all the wrongs you've done. He will guide you safely, each and every one. There's a right way, there's a wrong way, there's a short way, there's a long way, and all you'll have to do is get on your knees and pray, and the Lord will help you find a way. He has all the answers, he'll fill your every need, take away your hatred and take away your greed. Follow in his footsteps, you'll never be alone. He will always lead you safely home. There's a right way, there's a wrong way, there's a short way, there's a long way, and all you'll have to do is get on your knees and pray, and the Lord will help you find a way. Always take him at his word, he'll never let you down. He'll be the best friend that you have ever found. He's come to glorify you, he's come to light the way. Thankful that he loves you every day. There's a right way, there's a wrong way, there's a short way, there's a long way, and all you'll have to do is get on your knees and pray, and the Lord will help you find a way. There's a right way, there's a wrong way, there's a short way, there's a long way, and all you'll have to do is get on your knees and pray, and the Lord will help you find a way. There's a right way, there's a wrong way, there's a short way, there's a long way, and all you'll have to do.
All right, we were just kidding around. We only had one more side from that session there in Nashville at Bradley's Barn, but we'll leave it up to the rest of you to find more of them. Remember, Jerry McClendon. Which leads us to our closing. Ladies and gentlemen, sadly, we have to leave you now. But in closing, we'd like to first of all thank the man himself, Jerry McClendon, for taking the time to sit down with us. I'd personally like to thank my producer, John Fogarty, our ever-patient engineer, Mr. Mark Pollock. This has been Local Gold. we're going to leave you with one more song, which is It's Gold in its entirety.
It's gold, it's gold, it's gold. Came to cry from Sacramento. It's gold, it's gold, it's gold. James Marshall came a-riding in his findings to report. Showed the gold to Colonel Sutter there at Sutter's Fort. It's rich by Joe, said the Colonel, and the news spread all around. Started thousands saying, I'm California bound. It's gold, it's gold, it's gold. Came to cry from Sacramento. It's gold, it's gold, it's gold. The hills were full of miners, yet it seems they came in droves. Everyone was looking for that solid vein of gold. There were very few who found it, the others changed their plans. Those farmers would be miners, became farmers once again. It's gold, it's gold, it's gold. Came to cry from Sacramento. It's gold, it's gold, it's gold. And the sweethearts left behind him were soon on their way out to California, where they put their roots to stay. In the California Valley, that rich and fertile land, where they found the gold more lasting than the gold they came to It's gold, it's gold, it's gold. Came to cry from Sacramento. It's gold, it's gold, it's gold.
You've been listening to Local Gold, produced by John Fogarty, engineered by Mark Pollock, hosted by Patrick Skiffington. We would like to thank Jerry McClendon for welcoming us into his home and spending time with us. If you would like to learn more about Jerry McClendon or see him in person, visit jerrymcclendon.com or visit him on Facebook at Jerry McClendon. Local Gold has been sponsored by Blue Seal Bread. And now, a word from our sponsor.
I'm surface, Doctor. I'm all surface.
You're all surface.
I feel so empty inside.
Let me write this down. Empty surface inside.
There's no real substance to me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, I go to the market. I squeeze the Blue Seal bread, just like the other girls. And what do I get? Sandwiches.
Sandwiches. That is serious. Could you think back in your childhood, were you ever reprimanded for maybe you...
No.
Oh, no?
No,
oh, no.
I don't.
Of course not.
Oh, wait a minute. Yes, once. I was punished once for squeezing the cat's tail.
And you thought squeezing was wrong, right?
Oh, yes.
Well.
I think you're absolutely right, Doctor.
Now that it's out in the open, you're cured.
But how can I be sure?
I just happen to have a loaf of Blue Seal bread in my briefcase for just such emergencies.
Oh, really?
Here you are. Squeeze.
Oh, Doctor, thank you.
Blue Seal, the bread you love to squeeze.